The village of Umokoro had never known silence like this. Not the peaceful silence of dawn, when the cock had not yet crowed, nor the quiet stillness of night when the elders whispered to the spirits, but a heavy, suffocating silence that pressed against the chest like an unseen hand. It was the kind of silence that came when something was terribly wrong, something unnatural. Nkem lay in the centre of her father's compound, dressed in the very bridal cloth she was meant to wear in 3 days. White beads circled her wrists and ankles. Her hair had been carefully woven into intricate braids, adorned with cowries that glistened under the dull afternoon sun. Her lips, once full of laughter and sharp wit, now rested in a stillness that unsettled everyone who dared look too long. Women wailed around her, their voices rising and falling like waves crashing against grief. Some beat their chests, others clung to each other, whispering in disbelief. "It is not right," one old woman muttered, shaking her head. "A bride does not die before her wedding." Her mother, Mama Nkem, sat on the bare ground, her wrapper loose and her hair undone, rocking back and forth as if trying to escape reality. "My daughter, my only light," she whispered hoarsely. "Who will call me mother now?" Men stood at a distance, their faces hardened, their silence louder than the cries. Among them was Obina, the man Nkem was meant to marry. He stood still, too still. His eyes were fixed on her body, but there was something strange in his gaze. Not grief, not shock, something deeper, something guarded. The village head, Chief Okoye, cleared his throat heavily. "We must prepare for burial before the sun sets tomorrow. It is not good for the dead to linger." But even as he spoke, a cold wind passed through the compound, lifting the edge of the cloth covering Nkem's body. For a brief moment, just a fleeting second, her fingers twitched. No one noticed, or perhaps no one wanted to. By sunrise, the entire village had gathered. The men had dug the grave behind her father's compound, near the old Iroko tree where generations of their lineage had been laid to rest. The earth was dark and heavy, freshly turned, carrying the scent of something ancient and sacred. A traditional priest stood at the edge of the grave, his body marked with white chalk, his voice deep and commanding as he called upon the ancestors. "Spirits of our fathers, receive your daughter," he chanted. "Let her journey be peaceful. Let her rest be undisturbed." The coffin, simple but carefully crafted, was lowered slowly into the ground. Mama Nkem let out a piercing scream as the first shovel of sand hit the wood. Obina stepped forward briefly, dropping a handful of earth into the grave. His face remained unreadable, but his hands trembled ever so slightly. As the grave was being filled, a sudden rumble echoed beneath the ground. At first it was faint, like distant thunder. Then it grew louder. The earth began to shift. "Stop!" one of the young men shouted. But it was too late. The soil collapsed inward with a violent force, swallowing the coffin deeper into the ground. The ground caved in as if something beneath it had rejected what was being placed there. The crowd scattered in fear. "What is happening?" someone screamed. The priest fell to his knees, his eyes wide with terror. This is no ordinary death. The ground continued to sink until the grave was no longer a grave, but a gaping hole, dark and bottomless. And then, silence. No coffin, no body, nothing. A chill ran through every soul present, because deep down they all felt it. Nkem had not accepted the grave. That night, no one slept. The village, once lively with evening chatter and cooking fires, was swallowed by unease. Doors were shut tightly. Lamps burned longer than usual. Mothers pulled their children close, whispering prayers into their hair. Inside Nkem's family house, her mother sat frozen, staring at the empty mat where her daughter used to sleep. "I will not accept it," she murmured. "My child cannot just vanish." A sudden knock echoed at the door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Mama Nkem froze. Her brother, who had stayed the night, stood up cautiously. "Who is there?" No response. Another knock, slower this time. He moved toward the door, his heart pounding against his chest. When he opened it, the oil lamp flickered violently. And there she was, Nkem, standing at the doorway, still dressed in her burial cloth, barefoot, her eyes hollow, her lips slightly parted, as if she had been trying to speak for a very long time. Mama Nkem let out a scream that shook the walls. "My daughter!" But Nkem did not move. She did not blink. She simply stood there, watching. The room grew colder, and then, in a voice so faint it barely sounded human, she whispered, "I did not die naturally." Mama Nkem collapsed, her body trembling violently. "Who did this to you? Who?" But Nkem did not answer. She turned slowly and walked back into the night. "No!" her uncle shouted, rushing after her. But by the time he stepped outside, the compound was empty. No footsteps, no shadow, no trace. It was as if she had dissolved into the darkness itself. By morning, the entire village knew. The story spread like wildfire. "The dead girl has spoken. She said she was killed. She has returned." Fear gripped Umokoro. Even the bravest men avoided looking at the path leading to her house. The elders gathered urgently. Chief Okoye's face was pale. "This is no longer a simple matter. The spirit world is involved." The priest nodded grimly. "She seeks justice." A heavy silence followed, because everyone understood what that meant. Someone in the village was a murderer.